Our next guests are entertainment icons who have been married for over 40 years. She's an award-winning actress, author, and activist, and he is a talk show legend. New episodes of their podcast, Double Date, are available Mondays. Please welcome to the show, Phil Donahue and Marlo Thomas. Thank you both so much for being here.
Hi.
Hi. Sad. I've never been up this late.
Well, I'm very honored to have you. And, you know, I wish I had all my guests in studio, but Phil, this would have been extra special. You used to film your show in this studio. Do you have fond memories of 8G?
Well, I don't. Have you noticed my ghost wandering around there?
Yeah. You have we've never seen a ghost with such a long mic cord.
Right. No kidding. That was the early days. I used to run to the back of the audience and strangle 3 people in the front row. That was before the wireless mic.
Well, obviously hosting a talk show paid off as well for you, Phil, specifically with Marlo. I did not realize you guys have been together for 41 years, and you met Marlo when you were a guest on Phil's show.
Yeah. It was kind of love at first sight or something. Something chemical happened. He came into the green room, and I had not seen his show because it wasn't in LA at the time. And so he came in, and it was like one of those shampoo commercials, you know, the white hair and the blue eyes, the whole Irish thing. I got very interested in him. And he looked at me and said...
Well, I thought she was a bad thought. You know, if you're Catholic, you understand what that means. And one thing led to another, and before you know it, we were a real live couple.
But I read that you met your wife and you fell in love at first sight.
That is the way I agreed to tell it.
We
did. We met, it is true, though. We met at a wedding. And the last thing I think either of us were looking for was that, and yet we're together ever since then. So it is amazing how fortuitous it can be.
And a lot of people that we interviewed for the podcast, that was so. Billy Crystal was like 18. He was playing ball on the beach, and this girl in a pink bikini walked by, and he like fell in love with her. And they've been married like 60 years. So that does happen.
The first opinion, the first vision, Malcolm Gladwell made this a part of American culture, really. The first look at a person is the most important one. That's when, we found in the interviews we did with couples for our book, many of those couples fell in love.
Right.
On the first date,
right, yeah.
The first look, the first anything.
I was doing his show, so it was kind of bare because we'd never met before. And all of a sudden we were flirting like mad. And on his show was one person for an hour. And I'm going, oh, Phil, you're so funny, Phil. It was just really embarrassing. But it happens. And I'm sure you felt that when you met Alexi.
I did. I want to ask, because I will say the next day, we met Friday of a wedding. At the wedding on Saturday, true stories, people were coming up and asking my wife and I, who had just met, how long we've been a couple. So it was chemistry right away. But I'm wondering if you guys knew you were flirting, but friends of yours who watched that TV appearance, did they recognize it as well?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody called me and said, what was that about? I mean, it wasn't my first talk show, right? I've been interviewed by Johnny Carson and all the other people. I'd never fallen for anybody on their show before. It was just, and the woman that lived next door to you came over and she said that to you. She said, what did you do today?
Yeah. Well, who was that you had on today? So I guess it was obvious. So we didn't think so at the time. We weren't thinking about that.
But he called me the next day, and then we went out to dinner, and that was it.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
And yet,
there
you guys were pretty private early on. I mean, for being a couple that had a profile. Each of you were well known. You were not very public about your relationship, correct?
No, we haven't been, and we made the decision early because we got married quietly in my parents' house, and then we took off for our honeymoon. And so when we got back, we were being asked to co-host the Emmys together and co-host what was it, the People's Choice and be on the People magazine, and it was kind of alarming. We've said to each other, let's back off from this, because if we do this, we're putting it out there like a product, and they'll just take shots at it. So let's be quiet. So we did. We stayed kept our marriage out of the limelight. We didn't do anything together. But then after being married like about 39 years, we thought,
Yeah.
well, they can't hurt us now. What are they
They
going to say?
say wait 40 years, and if you're still
That's
happily
right.
married, do a podcast.
That's the success. But it was fun because there we were for the first time talking about our marriage on these double dates with these other people. And it was a new experience. And Phil had said to me when we were starting to go out around the country to interview the couples, he said, I'm not talking about our marriage. I said, okay. I mean, when you're married 40 years, you know what to say, right? I said, no problem. But once we got there, you did, because it was a conversation.
Yeah, if I said anything about us, it seemed to blow the doors open. The other couple would, I mean, it's like we couldn't get them to stop talking. So that, I think there's a message there somewhere. 4 people are more likely to say things that are more intimate than 2 people.
Or that a reporter would get. If
Yeah.
you were a lot of people who interviewed us afterward from newspapers and magazines and stuff said, how did you get them to talk about these things? I could never have gotten that. I said, well, you're a reporter and we're not. We're a couple.
Right.
So we're sitting down with another couple over a glass of wine and talking. It doesn't have that scary feeling that you're going to be misquoted and somebody's out to get you. We didn't have any. So we didn't have any of that.
What, based on the people you've talked to, are there any main takeaways, any keys that you feel you've discovered about a healthy relationship?
Well, I mean, this is hardly, I think in many ways we discovered things that we should have already known. But first of all, it takes both. You can't have one person committed to the relationship and the other person like baggage that has to be dragged along. That wears out the person who's for the union and the other one who isn't.
So all of these long married couples, they all had this thing in common, which is they both really wanted it, whatever it was. Kira Sedgwick said there can be no plan B when you get married. This is it. And they go to marriage counseling. Not Kira Sedgwick, but many of the couples went to marriage counseling.
Yeah, that's, I think that is the ultimate, I think, evidence of a good marriage. I mean, if people are voluntarily committed to marriage counseling, that means you really care.
Yeah, we've never been to one because Mr. Irish here would rather die than talk in front of somebody.
He'll go if it's court appointed, but he's not going voluntarily.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
you guys, thank you so much, both for doing the podcast and for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Seth.
Okay. Good luck on your marriage.
Thank you. New episodes of Double Date are available Mondays.